Deputy Speaker, this matter of public importance speaks of essential services deteriorating. And I want to speak to that matter directly because my community is living through that deterioration right now in the most visceral and devastating way possible. On the 8th and 9th of January 2026, a catastrophic fire tore through the region I represent. 136,000 hectares burnt, one life was lost, hundreds of families lost their homes, their sheds, their fencing and their livestock, and in many cases everything they had built and everything that they had dreamed of. A state of disaster was declared. 98% of every property the fire touched was destroyed. 4 months on, we are going into winter and we are still waiting for their properties to be cleaned up, waiting for temporary roof over their head, waiting to rebuild, waiting for the Allan Labor government to treat them with the basic dignity that Victorians have come to expect. And the Royal Commission and every inquiry since into a bushfire disaster has demanded. I'm placing on the record a full account of this government's failures, and I'm naming what was promised, what was delivered and what was not. And I'm naming the human cost of that failure, because behind every statistic in this, there is a person who is struggling to rebuild. The Longwood fire was one of the most destructive fires this state has seen in over a decade. The state of disaster declaration was warranted. The scale demanded an equivalent response, and we have not received one. This is not a matter of opinion, it is a matter of documented binding standards that this government has signed up to. The 2009 Victorian Royal Commission into the bushfires, established after Black Saturday, which killed 173 Victorians. And it made clear what trauma-informed recovery looks like. It found a registration process that required traumatised people to repeat their information to multiple agencies separately, added to their trauma. It found that post-fire welfare checks must be coordinated, especially for small communities. And discovery, the opportunity for a property owner to search through the rubble. The 2020 Royal Commission doubled down on these recommendations and went further, recommending coordinated, nationally consistent debris clean-up arrangements. Well, I have news for you. This government is turning its back on those recommendations. Last Friday, I was at the Sevens Creek pub in Euroa. I spoke with Michelle from Longwood East, and Michelle told me that that day, the state government clean-up contractors arrived at her property and she begged for them to give her the time to go through the rubble to find her grandmother's diamond necklace. She got a couple of hours. Can you imagine that, chasing through the rubble with a couple of hours? And the contractor said, I shouldn't even be doing this. She is still traumatised. The contractor said, I should not be doing this, and the rubble was removed. She found the necklace, but not with an extraordinary amount of trauma. Discovery is a basic established standard of every bushfire clean-up program since 2009, and this is not offered to my community. This is shameful. This is not a bureaucratic failure. It is a failure of human decency. This is a government using the machine of recovery to compound the trauma of the people it is supposed to serve. It is heartless and it has to stop. Christine at Ruffy, I spoke to her this morning. Christine was contacted by Emergency Recovery Victoria and asked to waive her rights to her property. ERV concierge Brendan. He said, well, do you want a clean-up program or do you want me to remove you from the list? I have that email on record. This is not trauma-informed care. This is coercion. This is a false urgency applied to a traumatised person who had already lost her home, wielded by a government staffer to shut down legitimate questions about a legal document. The 2020 Royal Commission was explicit. Clean-up programs must be voluntary, they must have consent and freely given, and time pressure and forcefulness have no place in disaster recovery. Labor government's own program violated those principles. So let me compare what's been delivered. In 2019-20 Black Summer bushfires, Victoria and the state the feds jointly funded a $75 million clean-up program. By the end of August 2020, 7 months after the fires, 736 properties had been fully cleared in Gippsland, East Gippsland and North East Victoria. 736 properties in 7 months. 4 months on, from our January bushfires, with a declared state of disaster, we have $112 million announced for a clean-up, 28 homes. 28 homes have been cleaned up in 4 months. We are living in rubble. We are living in dangerous conditions. We are living with asbestos or elderly people having to force and clean up themselves because this dysfunctional state government rolled out program. It is not recovery, it is abandonment. And at the current rate, it's going to take years for my community to get back on its feet. Today, the 12th of May, the waiver on land gate fees the waste levies has expired. 4 months on, state can't even do their own clean-up, and yet we can't even get free levy at our tips. 1 month it's going to be extended. This government's answer to families who have taken matters into their own hands, because they have to, has been cleaning up their own properties because Emergency Recovery Victoria is rolling out such a dysfunctional program and now being financially penalised for doing the job of this incompetent Labor government. And I'm calling for this levy today to be extended to the end of 2026, and I will not stop until it is extended so my community can properly clean up. But I have to ask this question, and take it seriously, please, Deputy Speaker. Who is in charge of this clean-up program? Who is in charge of this? After the recent bushfire inquiry, my colleague, the member for Northern Victoria, Gail Broad, asked a very specific and targeted question. How many properties had been cleaned up and who made the decision to implement a two-tiered clean-up program that excluded insured properties? And the Deputy Commissioner of Recovery answered that decision was made by the CEO of Emergency Recovery Victoria. That was her job. She deflected responsibility and blamed it on another role. It was her job. She made that decision, and my community is paying the price for it now. And I have to question the capabilities, because this seems like she was deliberately misleading the inquiry and deliberately misleading the parliament. Is she capable for the job? I'll let the Premier answer that one, but if she'd like to meet with me, I'm happy to have some suggestions. So, Deputy Speaker, I want to get to the point now. I've got a couple minutes left. I'm not here just to document the failures. There are so many, hundreds of them, and my community is stalled because of this government's failures. But I am here to demand remedies. Yes, and you were part of the problem. 1, a universal clean-up program available to insured and uninsured alike, run on the voluntary consent-based model that the Royal Commission recommended. No more coercion from now on. 2, immediate extension of the landfill levy waived to the end of 2026. It makes sense. The state can't even clean up these properties, and you're asking our people who have just been burnt to clean it up themselves. 3, fast-track permit approvals. If you're rebuilding a shed, you're rebuilding a home, let them get on and do it. This is standard. This is precedent from every disaster previously. 4, a 3-year rate exemption. It's a very little. At the moment, they're deferring. Deferral is debt labour. You've got to pay the bill at some stage. 5, a dedicated business revenue loss support process with grants, equivalent to what was provided in the Grampians, a $5,000 leg up for businesses that are on their knees right now. 6, a regional tourism marketing package for the Strathbogie Ranges and surrounding regions. Not a concert, not a media post, not some hollow announcement, a genuine strategy to get people back into our communities, because we're open for business and we need your support. 7, modular housing options and stamp duty exemptions. I have people in tents coming into winter. We don't have caravans. There's a hotline that says that caravans will come. Well, when? When are they? 8, a long-term, on-the-ground, trauma-informed mental health service operating directly on the fire ground, not outside, a couple of hours from our community. 9, a dedicated environmental restoration funding for the Strathbogie Ranges and the region impacted by the bushfire. And 10, full financial transparency. A public account of what has been committed under this government, how it has been spent, because we're sure as hell not even feeling it on the ground. This government had the precedent. It had the framework. It had the funding mechanisms. Every tool required to do this properly had already been used in previous disasters by a Labor government, by a Labor Premier, under the same Royal Commission standards. They chose not to use them.